small, simple example that most of us would have experienced in our childhood as well. Imagine when our mother would have asked us to go and fetch some items from a certain provision store. So she would have given a certain list, and that list would start with rice, cereals, etc., etc. uh, we will try to hold it in our mind as much as possible, and we will keep on repeating it throughout our journey towards that shop. But when we enter the shop, usually the way we would have assimilated it, we would present it in a reverse order. That's generally what happens. We will forget the order and we'll simply say it in a reverse order. This is one example. So very, very superficial example to understand how Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas have been presented in the Shastras. Everywhere we read, Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas begin with Vedas. That does not necessarily mean that we have to start with the Vedas. Okay. So because it's one thing, because they have experienced it, so they have presented it in that way. When the mother tells us the ingredients required for preparing payasam, she will have a certain chronology in her mind. She will have a certain sequence in her mind and she will present it. Whereas when it comes to us who remember it, we will remember it in a different order, which is easier for us to notice. So we don't notice the presence of milk when we taste payasam first. We notice sweetness, then we start noticing all the dry fruits, etc., etc. There is a different procedure of understanding it. So similarly, Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas, when they are presented to the world by the rishis, it is in one way. But as you pointed out, when we have to understand it, when we have to assimilate it, and we have to apply it, it will begin from the periphery. So we will start with the application part of the Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas. The application part mostly comes with Dharma Shastra, and then we need some role models. We need some framework for understanding that. So that's where we will get Itihasa and Purana as well. So like this, we build towards the Vedas. Even though the structure is from the Vedas, everything has emerged. It is absolutely true, and we are not deviating from the path. But our approach is slightly different. We are approaching from the periphery towards the core. At the core of Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas is the Vedas, but we are not directly reading the Vedas. And many have tried to do that, and they have failed. Most of the times we fail when we try to enter right in the center, right to the core. So we have to start from understanding how everything has been applied, how Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas have been applied. For that, the greatest thing available to us, the greatest example, testimony available to us is our Dharma Shastra and Itihasa Purana. We'll start with that, and then slowly we will build towards understanding what is the vision behind it. In order to understand that vision, we need Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Nyaya Vistaraha. All these things will come in that part. And then we would like to understand how this entire society is built. For that, we have Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthashastra, the structure that is Upavedas. And then we would go deeper into it to understand where are the roots of all these fundamental things. That's when we come across the Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, Nirukta, Jyotisha, Kalpa, the six Sangas. And then slowly we get into the core, that is the four Vedas. So that's how usually it happens. I think last time also I had given one small example. The best way to remember Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas is we consuming piping hot anna rasam. Nobody can eat anna rasam from the center. Everybody would eat it from the periphery. Otherwise, we will get our hands burnt. And if we eat it from the center, it will also burn the tongue, which will lose its capacity to recognize the taste. So, if we want to truly recognize the rasa or the sara, the essence of the Vedas, then it's better if we start from the periphery. Okay. Right.
Sir, this week I was doing a story and I read about the Garbha Upanishad, something very beautiful there, where it says that when the child is fetus is in the womb, up to the seventh month, the child already has visions of who or what it is and
Lovely.
what past births it has, and every single memory and future is there within. Then what happens is, at this is the smriti, and as during birth, Maya, the veil of Maya is put on the child, and it forgets everything. And the
Right.
whole of our life is to remove this veil and to remember everything. So,
Absolutely.
how would you correlate this to all of us who feel sometimes overwhelmed by that so much of knowledge we have to know? But the essential truth is that it's already within us. So how do we bring this essential principle of both Vedanta, Advaita into this knowledge system?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, and I would like to answer that with a small example that my guru used to give. It's like, imagine having the best linen cloth with you, and you have spread that linen cloth to dry on a bush of thorns. Okay, and now the wind is gushing. It's not just blowing, but it is gushing at an enormous speed. You have the responsibility to unveil it or remove that cloth from the bush of thorns. If you do it all at once, it will tear the cloth. If you do it from one end, and if you're not aware, if you're not taking care of holding the wind, then it will fall back. So that's the situation that we also find. Maya is that kind of cover where we need to work with a certain strategy, and that strategy has been very beautifully put forth by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So it all boils down to one simple thing. Now, where is exactly we are experiencing that Maya is covering us or veiling us, and where exactly can we unveil the Maya? That is the question. The location where it is happening is mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is responsible for all these things. So if we want to uh, get away from this Maya and realize who we truly are, so we are always that. It is true that the child, every single jiva in its mother's womb, it experiences that what it truly is. It experiences its true form. However, in order to kind of remain in that status, to never forget that. The problem is about smriti and vismriti. That's all. So we have got this bad habit of vismriti. We forget things. We are very, very forgetful, and because of too much of forgetfulness, it has become quite distant, and now it seems like a task for us. Like, I have to remember this. I have to realize who I am. No, I am that already. It is not something that I'm creating or making it. I'm already that. And that idea is presented in the Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas very beautifully. See, when we take a look at the Dharma Shastra, Itihasa, and Purana, on the outset, they don't appear to tell any of these things. They don't talk about any of these things. We read Ramayana, for example. The story of Ramayana does not reveal any of these things, but it just shows us the way that we must conduct ourselves, the way we must get on with the life, how one should live their life, so that it will automatically, uh, you know, uh, uh, transform us into realization. So that is exactly the previous example that I gave for the last question. That's how it works. So at the core, all these ideas that who I am or the actual truth, the true form, all of this is in the Veda. Um, that is the reason why the Veda itself says that Navedavin manutetam brihantam. So Brihat is basically Brahma. So who realizes that he is Brahma? Na Avedavit. They are negating, saying that he who is not aware of the Veda will never be aware of their true self. So if you beat it down, if you conclude it, it just concludes saying that Veda is the Parabrahma Swarupa. What I am, the realization is nothing but that Brahma Swarupa. So that is why it is kept at the core of everything, and we cannot directly attain that. So one day we attend some Vedanta classes and Advaita Vedanta classes, and they say that Tattvamasi, you are the Brahman, or Aham Brahmasmi. We read that, and tomorrow morning I cannot be roaming around saying that I am the Brahman. It doesn't happen that way. There is a structure behind it. So that is the ultimate thing. So similarly, Veda is the core, Veda is the crown jewel. But in order to reach there, we need to have plenty of things and we need to work it out. So Dharma Shastra, Itihasa, Purana, and Mimamsa and Nyaya. Nyaya is basically etymology, Sankhya, Yoga,
Sir,
all
can I
these.
just,
Yeah.
if you can just in one line give us a description of each of the Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas,
Yeah,
because there
yeah.
are many here who don't even understand what the Ashtadasha
Okay.
Vidyasthanas are.
Yeah.
So if you say Mimamsa, we have no, I mean, we have no idea what it is.
Yeah,
So if you
definitely,
just,
definitely.
yeah, and then also, like, for example, if you say, what is it that is there in the Rig Veda? I mean, of course, we are not going to understand in one day,
Mm.
but in
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We'll start from this procedure itself, the ascending order itself,
Yes.
not the
Okay.
descending order. Shastras are always in the descending order, whereas approach is always ascending order. We need to go from what is closer to us. Dharma Shastra is basically the code of conduct for each and every human being. Uh, how to live and how not to live. So it basically includes the do's and don'ts that we usually get. I mean, it's imagine Dharma Shastra as that manual that we usually get with any appliances. Any appliance we buy, there will be a manual which says, do this, don't do this, how to take care of this particular machine. So similarly, the value of life is understood by the rishis. So therefore, in order to keep that value in an appreciative manner and not in a depreciative manner, because human life is an asset, but it is not a depreciating asset, it is an appreciating asset. And hence, how do we maintain that value of human life? For that, a certain code of conduct is required. That code of conduct, which is dealt in detail, common code of conduct is also mentioned, and also individually the code of conduct is also mentioned. That basically covers Dharma Shastra. And then comes Itihasa and Purana, the second one. Itihasas are the documentation of all these things which have previously happened, and they are the ones who actually bring the essence of Vedas. However, they do not present it as it is. Itihasa Puranas are like Puran Poli, are like, Obbattu. They have the Hurnam within them, but they appear to be something else on the outset. But we know that if you remove the Purna, if you remove that Purna from the Puran Poli, nobody wants to taste it. I mean, it is just tasteless, isn't it? So Itihasa Puranas are Puran Poli because they have got the essence of Vedas in it. So they have got the essence. What they have done is they have just covered it. They have just masked it with stories, with plenty of stories, whether it is Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are considered as the two primary itihasas we have. And Puranas, we have Ashtadasha Puranas, that is basically 18 main primary Puranas and 18 Upa Puranas as well. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but still, briefly, I want to give some idea as well. So that is all single authored, by the way. That's all authored by none other than Veda Vyasa. That is Purana and Itihasa, second one. Third one is Mimamsa. Now, this is a very unique word, which is quite unpopular as well because we don't use it quite often in our regular usage. Mimamsa is basically the tool that we have to understand and interpret the right meaning of the Vedas. That tool which we have to understand the right meaning of Vedas is called as Mimamsa. And then we have Nyaya Vistara. With the word Nyaya, we mean epistemology, logic, and reasoning as well. You are not going to understand, we will not be able to understand the Vedas without having the understanding of the Pramanas, or basically the tools which are required to interpret the Vedas. So the tools required for the interpretation of Vedas are all mentioned in Nyaya, whereas the methodology to interpret the Vedas is mentioned in Mimamsa. So we have got two weapons, that is Nyaya and Mimamsa. The blueprint, the proforma is Itihasa Purana. The code of conduct is Dharma Shastra. So these are the first four which are required for us. And then comes uh, the peripheral thing which actually builds the entire society. These are called as Upavedas. Just because the word upa is added, it doesn't take away any sort of significance from these shastras. They still are equivalent to Vedas only. Just to differentiate, the word upa has been added. So the first one is Ayurveda, required for the well-being, not just of the physical health, but also for the mental health. Adhi and Vyadhi, these are the two concepts that Ayurveda generally deals with. Adhi is related to mind and Vyadhi is related to body. Any ailments related to mind and body should be cleared. That is dealt in Ayurveda. And the second and next one is Dhanurveda. Here, the word Dhanurveda refers to the weapons, because there will always be some sort of an external threat, and that external threat has to be compromised. It has to be eliminated. And for that, the art of learning weapons, making weapons, usage of weapons, storage of weapons, and all these things are discussed in Dhanurveda. Okay. And then comes Gandharva Veda, which is basically music. Okay. I mean, if we read the first chapter of Natya Shastra very clearly, it gives us that indication that it is Kridaniyakam Ichhamaha. That is what the Devatas went and sought from the Brahma, and they said that we need some recreational equipment, and that Gandharva Veda is part of that recreational equipment. So it is not only meant for entertainment. I did not want to use that word, but anyway, just to understand, it's not merely entertainment, but how we can forget for a moment, this entire world can be forgotten, and how it can lead us towards that true self. That is the signature of Gandharva Veda. That is what it deals with. It's not only music, instruments, and how to make instruments, what instruments should be used in what raga. All those details are covered in Gandharva Veda.
And
And
dance
then
also.
dance, yes, of course, it comes along with that as well, dance as well. And then comes Artha Shastra, which is basically political science, not economics. Artha Shastra is politics and administration. Basically, management of resources is learned in Artha Shastra. So when we observe these four, Ayurveda for individual good, Dhanurveda for the global good, and Gandharva Veda again for societal or community good. And again, we have Artha Shastra, which will cover the entire thing. It will keep everything in discipline. So, administration and management, these are the four Upavedas. And then comes the core now. The core is made out of 10, 4 Vedas, and each and every Veda have got 6 Angas, limbs. Okay, first we will see the limbs and then we will go to the Vedas. The first limb of the Veda is Shiksha. Shiksha is basically phonetics, the art of pronunciation, how to pronounce a word, how not to pronounce it wrongly, what are the swaras, what is Harsva, what is Dirgha, what is Pluta, all the details of how to pronounce properly. That is mentioned in Shiksha.
But can you just, when you give the Vedangas, can you also just say which is the Veda Purusha's organ that is
I will
connected
come
to
to that.
this?
I will come to that. And Vyakarana is the grammar part of it, where we observe how the words have emerged, how the words are formulated. So that part is understood in Vyakarana. And then comes Chandas. Chandas is basically the movement. It tells us the sequential order of the Vedas, how the mantras have formed and how it has to be used, and it cannot be changed or reversed or anything like that. What is the significance behind using a certain chandas? All these things are discussed in chandas, basically meter or prosody, as they call it as. Okay, and then comes Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, Nirukta. Nirukta is basically etymology, to understand the derivation of each and every word. There is a theory in our shastras that each and every word has got a root word. So how it is all connected to the root, and how that root has transformed or morphed into this current meaning, to observe that entire journey of a particular root into this form is discussed in Nirukta. And then comes Jyotisha. Jyotisha is considered as the study of time. Even though it only says as time, it is not just about time, but the understanding of Dik, Desha, and Kala. All these 3 elements are done in Jyotisha. Dik is direction, in which direction, what direction we should do. Desha is the space where it must be done. That is the reason why Vastu was also a part of, Vastu is also a part of Jyotisha. And then last one is Kala. So these are the three prashnas, three important segments that are covered in Jyotisha. And then the last one amongst the six angas is Kalpa. Kalpa is basically engineering, how to construct, how to facilitate the things that have been told in the Vedas. If they have told some activity to be done, then there must also be a manual of how to create these things, how, where to put these things, all those things. Any part related to rituals and the way we do our actions, all of that is covered under Kalpa. And Kalpa also happens to be the source for our Shilpa Shastra as well. It's not that they are disconnected. Shilpa Shastra, architecture, everything, Kala, all those things are derived from Kalpa, because there needs to be an idea, how to present that idea, how to articulate that idea in various forms, is all, this idea comes under Kalpa. And then there are the four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Sama, and Atharva. Basically, the classification goes by the nature of the mantras that are available in these texts. So Rig Veda is mostly about the hymns or the verses that we have, which goes by the name Rik. They are called as Rik, and they are generally in the praising of the various deities. So Rig Veda consists plenty of suktas. They are called as suktas, those small chapters which are used as praises for the various deities. They are not just merely praises, they also describe the Srishti, how the evolution happened, and what is the role of this particular deity, how the connection exists between these deities to the world. All these things are discussed in Rig Veda. Yajurveda is mostly about the action orientation, how the yajnas must be performed, what is the spirit of yajna, and if we want to continue performing our activities in the right manner, what is the way that we must do it. All these things are discussed in Yajurveda. And Samaveda, which also happens to be the mother of music and dance, etc., it consists of a special way of singing. The mantras are taken mostly from the Rig Veda. The same Rig Veda mantras are sung in a certain manner. So there are various types of Sama, and each and every Veda has got various classifications as well, sub-classifications as well. And then comes the Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda is like a miscellaneous thing, if I can say so, which contains a lot of information, not only about the Srishti, but also about medicine. It also contains plenty of things about the various aspects of statecraft. It acts as a single source of information for the entire thing, how exactly a society should be formed. All these things are discussed in Atharva Veda. Now, this entire Veda.
Sorry to disturb you,
Yeah.
but visual art comes under Shilpa Shastra and visual art
Kalpa.
come under Atharva Veda?
Kalpa. It comes under Kalpa.
Even visual art?
Yes. Anything that expresses the idea in various formats, they all come under Kalpa. So it is basically the Vedic idea which gets expressed in the form of stone, that becomes sculpture; in the form of painting, it becomes chitrakala. So all those things are considered as an extension of Kalpa itself. I think there's one question related to darshanas. Darshanas, we already discussed about darshanas. That Mimamsa and Nyaya, they consist of all the darshanas. Mimamsa includes the interpretation of Vedas, that is both Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Whereas Nyaya Vistara, the tools of understanding, they include Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Yoga. All four of them put together is called as Nyaya Vistara. And the importance we have already discussed, I believe. So Yajurveda include praising of specific deities. See, all Vedas will have the praises of the deities as well. However, this definition that I gave is based mostly on the prominence. That's all. What does the majority of the Veda do? Majority of Rig Veda is about praising the deities, whereas majority of Yajurveda is about involving ourselves into the actions, how to perform the yajnas, yagas, etc., etc. So it's based on the prominence. The majority of the text talks about that. Hence, it is called as such. Otherwise, it doesn't mean that Yajurveda does not have any praises on the deity, any suktas or anything like that. Yajurveda also possesses plenty of such suktas as well. Okay. Now, for the ease of understanding of this entire structure, they have visualized Veda as a Purusha, as a human. Now, when we visualize Veda as a human being, it gives us this idea of how the Vedangas are an integral part of the Veda. Otherwise, on paper, on theory, it may not be much appealing to us. But when we take this visual form of the Veda being, kind of metaphored into a human, then we can understand where exactly what are the organs these six angas, these shadangas occupy. So Shiksha is considered as the nose. Shiksha Ghranantu Vedasya. Phonetics is it occupies the nose part of the Veda. That is generally because when we say that if there is anything that has gone wrong that we have prepared, uh, it will always, the first strongest notion that we get is our smell. Now we can smell that something is wrong. And metaphorically also we use that by saying that, I smell something bad here. I mean, in a figurative sense, we use that. So, in the same way, Shiksha acts as that first line of defense for the Veda, where we can identify how the Veda is progressing or how we have been able to hold the Vedas or take the Vedas and pass it on. So, if there is any mistake, it can be found out in the Shiksha. That's why Shiksha is Ghrana, is the nose part of the Vedas.
Can we also say that for phonetics, the nose is very important, the nasal sounds?
No. Because there are 8 different parts from where the letters emerge. So Varnotpatti sthanas are completely different. So nose, there are only 5 nasal letters. So therefore, it is not because of that. Nose mainly because it has the ability to sense where it goes wrong and where it is right. So that is the reason why Shiksha is equated with Ghrana. Yeah, and then Vyakarana is considered as the Mukham. Mukha here does not refer to the entire face. Mukha refers to the mouth part, where actually the words emerge, and that has to be clean and that has to be pure. Pure and clean here mean that it should be accurate and it should not have any sort of mistakes. So that's why Vyakarana is considered as the Mukham part of it. Shiksha Vyakarana. Chandas is considered as the Pada, the feet of the Veda. The movement of the Veda is tracked by the Chandas. If it is easy to understand if some mantra, the same mantra can be used in a different Chandas as well. And if we change the Chandas, the entire meaning, the entire outcome will differ as well. Therefore, we can track, just like how we can understand by looking at what pace we are walking, what is the intention behind that walk. Similarly, by looking at the chandas, we can understand what is the intention of this particular Veda mantra. So that forms the pada part of it. Chandav padavatu vedasya. And then Shiksha Vyakarana Chandas Nirukta. Niruktam Shrotra Muchyate. Nirukta is considered as the ears of the Vedas, where we get to understand the root, because we hear here, and the main point here, or the idea behind calling Nirukta as Shrotra is because we have to get to the root of every word that we hear, and that is a good training that we need to get. Any word we hear, if it is a Samskrita word, it will definitely have a root word. There will be a dhatu, and we need to go to that root and see the whole journey, how that root has transformed into this particular form. So for that to be done, uh, we have to take this example of a ghantanada. When this ghantanada happens, uh, what is the sound that we must be focusing on, or what is it that we are supposed to hear when we have a ghantanada done? So ghantanada basically leads us towards that pranavanada, towards omkara. When the ghanta stops, we are not supposed to slam it down. We are supposed to hold it still, so that the vibration that it gives, the sound that it gives, it has got a tail to it. And if we observe the tail, it will lead us towards the omkara. So keeping that in mind, Nirukta is considered as Shrotra, because any word that we hear in Veda, we have to eventually go to its root and identify what exactly is the meaning of the root and how it has formed. And then comes Jyotisha. Jyotisha is considered as the eyes of the Vedas. Okay, and Jyotishaamayanam Chakshuhu. That is how it has been defined. Eyes are important to locate the place and to see where it is convenient for us. And that's why I said it is not just about time. It's not just about the vision of time, when we should do it, the forevision and all those kind of things. It's also equally important to locate the place as well. So that location and time, both of them are included as two eyes of the Veda Purusha, which is Jyotisha. And Kalpa is considered as the hands. For any activity, we require our hands to be active. We have to perform all the activities, construction, whatever it is, engineering or art, everything comes with our hands. And therefore, it is considered, Kalpa is considered as the hand of the Vedas. Now, just one more classification or one more way of understanding the Shadangas is, see, if we observe, there are a couple of them which are very, very core to the Vedas itself. For example, Shiksha, Nirukta, and Vyakarana. These three, and Chandas, these four are very core and integral to Veda mantras itself. They form the core part of the Vedas. Whereas Jyotisha and Kalpa are not just merely the core part of Vedas, but they are also looking at the application part of the Vedas as well. So with that understanding, we have to move. It was never meant to be simply theoretical in nature. It was always meant to have some sort of an application orientation. And that application orientation we see in Jyotisha and Kalpa. Predominantly in Jyotisha and Kalpa, we see that an application of the Vedas, whereas Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, and Nirukta, these are meant for the preservation of the structure of the Vedas. Vyakarana, in fact, very clearly mentions that Raksha is one of the primary objectives of Vyakarana. Raksha in the sense Vedartha Raksha, how to preserve the Vedartha, that is usually taken up in Vyakarana. So this is the overall structure of the 18 Vidyasthanas that we have. I think there's one more question here. In Samskrita, Vyakaran really necessary to understand Vedas? Is there anything more? There is no other shortcuts available for understanding the structure of the Vedas. One has to inevitably go through the Vyakarana. There are no alternatives for Vyakarana, because we are saying that Vyakarana is equated to a certain organ. It is equated to the mouth. So if I am going to ask the same question related to human anatomy, that is it possible, can I have one more alternative of speaking other than mouth? Can I speak from my ears? How it is anatomically not possible. Similarly, in order to understand the Vedas, Vyakarana is equally important. We can't have an alternative for that, or no other way of doing it. Only through Vyakarana.
Sir, we've had so much of dense information. Just to lighten it up, rather,
Yeah.
for artists. And can you talk about one sukta, sir, the Purusha Sukta, and how it describes the cosmic Purusha in terms of imagery? So the very first line itself, you have the Purusha has 1,000 head, eyes. So, in terms of the grandness of description, it's not just our two eyes, our two
Yeah.
ears, that, when an artist has to imagine the cosmic Purusha,
Mm.
the throw is so large, your
Yeah.
imagination cannot be limited to what we know of the human anatomy, isn't it, sir?
Correct. Absolutely. And also, when they say Sahasra Shirsha and Sahasrakshaha in the Purusha Sukta, they don't mean exactly 1,000 eyes or 1,000 heads. They mean infinite eyes and infinite heads. So basically, it is to denote the fact that it is all pervasive. The tattva, the Purusha tattva, or the truth that they are talking about, the element that they are talking about in that particular thing, in that particular sukta, mostly deals with the omnipresence of that tattva. It begins with the omnipresence of the tattva, and slowly it gives us this evolution as well. How the things that we witness in this entire world is nothing but a form, nothing but a part of that Paramapurusha himself. So it becomes easier for us to view it. And this is not just in Purusha Sukta. In fact, if we observe the way Bhagavata begins, even in Bhagavatam, the initial conversations in the first couple of skandhas, first to second and third skandhas, basically they talk about the Virat Purusha. This is called as Virat Purusha. Uh, this Virat Purusha is how we view this entire creation. This entire creation is not viewed as many, but it is viewed as one. It is a single entity, and that single entity is viewed as various organs of Paramapurusha. Like this, his ear becomes the directions, and his nabhi becomes the world. It emerged from this world. And his eyes are the sun and the moon. His romas, his hair on his body is how the oshadhiyas and vanaspatis. So this is not just an imagination kind of thing. It is to view this whole world, which appears to be many, as one. That is the vision that has been given. To see the one in many and to see the many in one. That is the whole concept of Purusha Sukta as well. Just to put it in very, very superficial way. Of course, when we go through each and every line of Purusha Sukta, we get to know that none of the controversial things that we hear, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, otherwise, people get offended by all those things. They are all part of Paramapurusha itself. The much easier text to deal with, or the much easier text to understand this Purusha Sukta is the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. Whatever has been showed in Vishwarupa Darshana is the same thing that has been expressed in Purusha Sukta as well. That's the reason why I said that Purusha Sukta is at the core, and the core idea has been carried in the Puranas and Itihasas as well. Bhagavad Gita is an Itihasa. So we see in the periphery as well the same idea being protected. So we get to see the world as one, not just merely in words, but also when we are able to visualize it, then there is no Dvaita Bhava or Aneka Bhava. There's always only one thing. That's why even the world is not hated upon, the world is not removed upon, the world is always told that it all appears to be many, but it is actually one. Okay.
I have a question. Can you hear
Sorry.
me?
Yeah.
Vishwarupa concept can be taken into this kind of explanation.
Sorry, I did not get the question.
Vishwarupa.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be the sun and moon or the eyes, all the gods and goddesses in the brain, and all the cosmos is within him. So portraying Vishwarupa would be ideal then.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Purusha Sukta is in the core. The core idea is the same which has been expressed in Vishwarupa Darshana as well. We get more vivid descriptions in Vishwarupa Darshana, whereas Purusha Sukta talks in the style of a sutra. It just gives a one-line description, whereas Vishwarupa gives a rather more vivid picture, which is easy to carry, easy to remember, and easy to visualize. Yeah. I think that there are two more questions, and also a person has raised their hand. Okay. Can you enlighten us about Divya Chakshu? This is from Gita, where someone great like Arjuna need to specialize. Someone great like Arjuna is a very I'll refrain from commenting on that. And see, whoever it is not possible to view the Vishwarupam without having a divine eye, without having the Divya Chakshu. The word Divya Chakshu here refers to the kind of vision that is required, the kind of magnanimity that is required in our vision. If we can still see, because Vishwarupa talks about seeing all the things in one. So that was the Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra was not the Vishwarupa Darshana. It was Sarvancha Mayi Pashyati was Vishwarupa Darshana, where everything was seen in one. So for that to be seen, I think that kind of special eye is required. That comes with only experience, only with practice. Okay, and then can Vedanta exist without Purva Mimamsa, and does Bhakti connect this? I think it's they're not completely related to the context, but still, yes, of course, they can. I want to know what they exactly mean by exist without Purva Mimamsa. It's not like they are completely dependent on one another. They are interdependent. They are codependent. So therefore, they have been coexisting. Mimamsa, the very meaning of the word Mimamsa is to understand the interpretation or understand the meaning of the Vedas. Therefore, Purva and Uttara is just a classification of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda of the Vedas. Therefore, they'll always coexist. And another question that has been asked is, and does Bhakti connect this? Of course, Bhakti definitely connects this. Bhakti is the glue that holds all of these things together. When you start to study one from that Veda, when can we move to the next Vedanga? Oh, okay. Okay, okay. Okay, all right. I'll answer that question. There is a different version of expression of Vishwarupa in Mysore paintings. Okay, maybe. But the core idea of the Shastra, the Bhagavad Gita, remains Sarvancha Mayi Pashyati. So that is the core idea which has been represented in Vishwarupa. And then do lokas come in the Jyotisha or Kala or Kala and in the cosmic Purusha? Yes, of course. All those things are discussed in the Jyotisha itself. It's part of that. I mean, of course, the core ideas are all mentioned in the Vedas. When we specifically pick them, then we will be able to organize it in a better way. Are there any connections in Srishti, Utpatti, and Ashta Mahavidyas or Vedas? There will always be some connection with various types of tantric practices that we have, various forms of worshipping. All these things do have a very deep connection with the Srishti Rahasya. Any Devata Upasana, for that matter of fact, not just Mahavidyas, any Devata Upasana, for that matter of fact, will have the Srishti Rahasya in it. Without that Srishti Rahasya, there cannot be any Devata Upasana at all. Does the sun graha represent vision expansion from Jyotisha? Can chanting Aditya Hridayam help in this regard? Uh, it depends from what mindset, in what spirit we are going to chant Aditya Hridayam. Aditya Hridayam is a beautiful description of the sun himself. So it can be used for the contemplation of the sun as well. Therefore, vision expansion definitely, in the sense that we move from Vyashti to Samashti. We will not look at any one point, but we look at this entire creation being run by the sun. Therefore, Aditya Hridayam, if it is studied, if it is read in this spirit, then definitely it can help us in the expansion of the vision, if the expansion of vision means that way. And there is one question by Om Prakash, which I think he has left, but I'll anyway answer. When can we move to the next Vedanga? This is a very fantastic question. I would have really appreciated if you were there, but anyway. So there is a beautiful idea that Anantaparam kila Shabda Shastram Swalpam Tathayur Bhavascha Vighnaha. So the Shastra itself says that the Shastra is abundant. If you pick any one lane, any one Shastra, that one Shastra itself is going to be sufficient for an entire lifetime. What about the other paths? What about the other Shastras? So no need to be worried. It's not that I will not be aware of any other Shastras or their implications. It will all converge at the same point. Therefore, if I am taking this path and if I am moving in the same path, then whatever benefits are mentioned in other paths, they are also included here as well. It may come in a different timeline. Therefore, one need not worry that we have to scale all Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas. It is only the structure to understand. We can always walk in one path. For example, when I say this, if one is going to pick Gandharva Veda, if one is going to pick Ayurveda, or if someone is going to take up Arthashastra, that one stream of knowledge is more than sufficient. They need not worry about taking everything up. That's not usually possible at all, because it takes that much of discipline as well. So it is always preferred to pick one thing. That's the reason why earlier they used to say that you have to study the Vedas to which you belong. You're not supposed to do anything else. If you want to do anything else, first you have to study the Vedas. It's only to keep us grounded in one path. So Ayurveda 1 itself is also going to be sufficient. You need not worry about all the 18 Vidyasthanas. Okay. Purusham Purushyasya Vrikshya. Sorry, I did not get that line at all. If you can just speak it, I would be able to understand. Are there any current contemporaries who have attained masteries in all 18 Vidyasthanas, and what post would they be given? Definitely not vice chancellorship, I believe. No, it is very difficult to master all 18 Vidyasthanas. It takes a lifetime to get to the depth of one Vidya. So it's there is another way. Yajñātva neha bhuyonya jñātavyam avashishyate. There is a hack for all these things. So to know that, by knowing which everything becomes known, that is also there. So that is basically to realize who we truly are. So it all brings back us to that core point. So that is one way of understanding. But to go through each and every stream in depth, it's a gigantic task. The stories in the Vedas themselves reveal it. The Bharadwaja Muni, he asked for 100 years. He did tapasya because he wanted to go through the entirety of Vedas. It was not possible. He got one more 100 years. He kept on taking 100 years after 100 years. And then Bhagavan showed him that this is the amount of Veda that you have been able to cover so far. So that story itself is a great testimony to the fact that it is impossible. If it was not possible for Bharadwaja, I think, needless to say that it will be possible for anybody to scale all 18 Mahavidyas. See, an overview is possible. I'm not suggesting that an overview is not possible at all. To have some idea about what all these Vedangas, Vedas, and Shastras are talking about, that is absolutely possible. And each and every Bharatiya should have that, at least that much of Viveka, that much of awareness about our own Vidyasthanas. But it's like reading the catalog and reading a book. Nobody becomes a great scholar by reading the catalog. So this is like reading the catalog. One should be aware of the catalog as well, but at the same time, they should have some in-depth experience as well in any one stream. Oh, this was really good. I was not expecting these many questions, to be honest. I thought it was going to be only grasping on knowledge lesser as Yuga's progress. Bhagavan Adi Shankara says his knowledge is nothing compared to his guru. His disciples as lesser than him. What makes knowledge fade away? Many reasons are there. One primary reason for all the Vidyas fading away is the lack of respect that we have for that, and also the dilution that happens when it gets passed on. We are more focused on giving everything to the next, passing it on to the next generation. But if we do it without the responsibility, then most of the times it gets diluted. So that's one of the reasons why it kind of fades away. And also, naturally itself, the capacity is slightly diminishing as well. That also plays a significant role in it. And in practicality, does Dharma Shastra overpower Vedas? No, sir. Vedo kilo dharma moolam is what Dharma Shastra's own statement is. Dharma Shastra considers Veda to be its soul, Veda to be its seed. So a tree cannot overpower the seed. So whatever is within the seed gets revealed in the tree. So Dharma Shastra is an extension of that Veda. It doesn't overpower the Vedas. It doesn't overthrow the Vedas. The idea of Veda is represented in the form of code of conduct in Dharma Shastra.
Sir, the Indian knowledge systems are as much about techniques of learning as they are about the knowledge system itself.
Yeah.
So, can we just go one by one over these techniques so that the artists, apart from this whole tree that is there, can we
Yes.
also study the processes that they can inculcate? Like if you start with Shravana or learn through attentive receiving. So, how can artists, let's start with number one. So, can you tell us something about Shravana?
Shravanam Mananam Nididhyasanam is mostly towards the Atma Vichara and Atma Jnana and all those things. But in order to understand the Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas itself, I have a better idea of approaching it. So see, it comes in three levels and a hierarchical level. The first one is always the technical details. So if we want to understand any knowledge system, any of these 18 that we have mentioned, we can pick any one of them and try to identify what are the technical details that each and every single one of them are talking about. There will be a dossier kind of thing which describes what are the technical meanings. Take, for example, one simple example I'll give in the entire Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas, the word karma. The word karma means so many different things in so many disciplines. It is not the same thing. See, for an artist, karma means something. For a dancer, karma means something. For somebody who is following rituals, for them, karma is something. For someone who is reading Jyotisha, karma is different. For Vyakarana, for a person who is studying Vyakarana, karma is different. So, similarly, there are plenty of such technical terms that are very innate to each and every discipline. So, the first part or the first level of approach would be to pick any one of these 18 and identify the technical terms that are used. The technicalities are trying to understand the technical details of that branch of that discipline. And then comes the regulatory portion of that particular system, where we understand what are the do's and don'ts related to that thing. There will be certain common do's and don'ts that are described in Dharma Shastra. But when it comes to a specific discipline, there will be a specific do's and don'ts as well. So that is covered in the second level. And the third one is mostly about the experience. So the third level might be slightly difficult to express as well because it is subjected to experience. Whereas the first two parts will definitely make us thorough in that particular discipline. If I want to study Chandas, for example, what is the bare minimum that I should know about Chandas? I should know about Swara. I should know about Alpa Prana, Mahaprana. I should know about the pronunciation. I should know about the Vaidika Chandas and Laukika Chandas, Matra Chandas and Akshara Chandas. So these are these technical details. And then come certain do's and don'ts related particularly to Chandas. For example, any mantra is incomplete if it has got only three padas. Every mantra will have four padas. So we can identify whether it has got all four of them and how to count the letters. So these are all technical details related to that particular discipline. However, the experience part is difficult to accomplish. It will take a lifetime of practice, but these technical and regulatory things can be understood. So that will be a better approach when we get to any of these disciplines. The ones that you mentioned, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, it comes in the later stage. In the sense, once we have mastered the technicalities and the regulations of that particular discipline, we would be somewhere closer to Shravanam because we will have a complete comprehension or conclusion about what this discipline is all about. And then begins Mananam, the reflection. And then eventually it leads to Nididhyasanam as well. So it's a long process. But we can start with technical details.
So I just have a question here.
Yeah.
Now, if a dancer wants to connect their performance to Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas, The very act of dance is a part of the Ashtadasha Vidyasthana, right?
It is. It is. It is. It definitely is.
Okay, but I still wanted them to all attend so that they. Otherwise,
Yeah.
everybody will say, "Oh, after all, I'm doing Gandharva Veda." But we want them to
Yeah.
understand the import of what this is.
Mm. No, I think the best way to look at is uh, to take a look deeper into kalpa part. Where is the and on what time and how much the duration should be, and for what purpose is this particular thing going to be attached. It was always a part of the rituals. No, chatram samarpayami, chamram samarpayami, nrityam darshayami, geetam gayami, all these things have always existed. So we just need to know in what percentage it was going to be added, and it has to match the theme as well. If the particular kalpa, for example, if they are talking about a soma yaga, for example, I know that is impossible to present it as such. Just giving an example, if soma yaga is being performed, then everything will be related to soma yaga itself. There will be songs which will be sung on the which will be praising the value of that somalata. The dance will be showcasing the devatas, the joy or the bliss that the devatas get when they receive the soma offered by us. So in this way we can think about it. Any one particular action, it has to fit to that theme. A simple example that is followed even to this day in rituals is when they do Bagalamukhi Aradhana or these kind of Vishesh Devata Aradhana. When they do, they Bagalamukhi is usually considered to have yellow as a representative color. So everything will be yellow. If they do Durga Puja or Durga Aradhana, everything will be red in color. Same thing applies for Ganapati. So something like that. So there is a lot of scope for us to explore uh, in terms of color, in terms of ingredients we use, because of the same properties we have related to that. So in this way, we can connect it. Okay.
Sir, in terms of like visualization, we have in Tantra and mandalas, and
Yeah.
uh, would it be a simplification, like for instance, to take the lotus Padma imagery with petals, 18 petals? Is it, is that would it be a gross simplification, or can it be an artistic license?
Uh, it it can be both, I guess. It can be a very
Mm.
good blend of it, because the descriptions that we find in the Shastras about the various kamalas or various flowers that are mentioned, uh, they can be very easily brought out in the form of art as well. No, because when they talk about the chakras, not every single chakra has got the same number of petals. Each and every chakra has got different number of petals. The size varies, the color slightly varies. And when we talk about Agni or Chandra and Surya mandalas that exist, they also come in different colors. The akashas are five, the five different colors of akasha are there. So in this way, it's just about where we want to dig. There are plenty of places where we can dig, and we will definitely, when we get to the depth of it, plenty that where we can bring the artistic expression as well into it.
But now that they can't dig that deep, are there any suggestions you can give?
That's the difficult part.
Of where they can, I mean, now if you say Surya Mandala, where can they find the description of the Surya Mandala?
Oh,
Like
okay.
that.
That's a very difficult question to answer. The best answer is within themselves. That is not going to happen in 2 months, I know.
So you're giving them the freedom to create a mandala and call
No,
it
no,
the Surya Mandala if it is
no, no, no,
what
no,
they
no.
feel then.
No, no, then I knew that this was coming, so I was preparing in my mind the answer. I think some of the basic yoga Upanishad texts, they will give a description. Advaita Araka Upanishad, Yoga Shikha Upanishad, which has got a beautiful collection of all the things put together. Any one Upanishad, if they go through, they will have sufficient data. If it is about sound, for example, there is one Upanishad called as Nado Upanishad. It talks about 10 different types of sounds. So if they are into music, they can definitely explore that, because it talks about how to where they can see the sound emerging. The gradual evolution of pranava happening in the world is told in that Nado Upanishad. So similarly, when we talk about mandala, the chakras, the bandhas, the mudras, all these things, they come mostly in the Yoga Upanishads. Also, some of them are present in the Agama Shastras as well, because for the representation of Devalayam, they have taken these facts as well. So that can be used too. They are primary texts basically. None of it has been put under one umbrella, unfortunately. So it is scattered. So once they pick, then we can share where exactly they can research that and can find the details of that. Of course, this time it will take a little bit of intellectual effort as well. Not that previously they were not putting any intellectual efforts, but this time an extra effort is required, because the field is such, it's vast, and it appears to be leading us nowhere, because we don't have any. The Google will not help. I can assure you that it doesn't have that much of resources with it. Okay, भजे हंसद्वन्द्वं किमपि महतां मानसचरं यदालापादष्टादशगुणितविद्यापरिणतिः. Roughly consider as the conversation of these two, Hamsa, Shiva, Shakti, and Anahata Chakra, is the birth of 18 Vidyas. Roughly in the sense, the way the Vidyas are usually realized or understood, that sakshatkar of these Vidyas is happening there. That is the idea presented in that Saundarya Lahari shloka. The sakshatkar of these Vidyas, the Vidyasthanas, all these Vidyas have got a certain mandala. Just to, it might be too heavy to mention it. However, when we talk about the Vedas, each and every Veda has got its own mandala, base, as I say. Mandala here refers to the base. Rig Mandala, Yajur Mandala, Sama Mandala, and Atharva Mandala. So usually in Shiksha, they teach this. We cannot be chanting Rig Veda in Yajur Mandala. Rig Veda has to be chanted in Ring Mandala only. So it usually comes from a very deep voice. Agnimi Ile Purohitam Yajnasya Deva Mritvijam. This is the Ring Mandala, and this is the base for Rig Veda. Because it doesn't sound very fancy, if we try to uplift it and chant it in Sama or Yajurveda's pitch, it kind of takes away the charm. So like that, there are certain things that are mentioned that they are all subjected to sakshatkara. All these vidyasthanas are subjected to sakshatkara. That is what that shloka from Saundarya Lahari is mentioning. In Bhavani Ashtakam, Adi Shankara says even Vedas are not required for self-realization, only surrender to the Divine Mother will help. So what is the significance of knowledge? Is surrender an ego-dissolving process. Until we attain the ability to realize our true form, surrendering is a wonderful option. Okay. And surrendering to one thing is even better, because we have got the idea of surrendering very clearly. It's just that we have used that idea everywhere. We surrender to everything and anything. So if that can be avoided, and if we surrender to only one thing, that's why in order to ensure that we get the idea of surrendering properly for Chitta Shuddhi, he has mentioned like that in Bhavani Ashtakam. It's a stotra. We need to understand that comes very much on the peripheral side of the entire corpus of Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya. So that is also vital. It is also required, but that itself will not be sufficient towards the end. But it will definitely give us that push to cleanse our mind. That Chitta Shuddhi will certainly happen, and it will help us to realize that ultimate truth. So that surrendering, definitely, yes, it will reduce that ego as well. Ramayana, and find these Vidyasthanas and correlate them in the form of art, and which parts of Ramayana could be ideal. Wow, that's a wonderful question. That's a fantastic question. That itself is a subject of a research paper, to be honest. One needs to go through the entire Ramayana with this lens on, that where can we find these Vidyasthanas specifically. But some of the descriptions of nature, Rutu Varnanams are there. Sharad Rutu Varnanam is there. Varsha Rutu Varnanam is there. These things and nadis and all these things have been described. They can definitely easily be taken up as an expression of art and everything, because the way Valmiki describes is no less than a picture. So it's picturesque. So that way it can be taken. But to find all the 18 Vidyasthanas will be a very deep task. It will be a huge task. To be very honest, I haven't done that. I haven't read Ramayana in that lens, but I would definitely love to read that once again in this lens. It would be fantastic to go through that. Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas and Ramayana. What a combination.
Sir, personally, can you tell us what you would like to see in an artwork? What would excite you, in
Oh.
terms of a new idea?
I was not prepared for these questions. Okay. um, yeah, see, the Yoga Shastra, if it can be brought out mainly, uh, it would be fantastic. It would be really wonderful if that Yoga Shastra can be brought out in the form of art, especially when we take a look at that. One simple shloka I want to remind, and I'll not take much time of that. Appaya Dikshita points this shloka out from Kumar Sambhava of Kalidasa, and he says that Kalidasa describes Parvati in tapasya, and the way he has described Parvati in tapasya, it's not just Parvati in tapasya, but the first drops of rain has fallen on her eyelashes, and her eyelashes are closed. To what extent the eyelashes must be closed? And these are the intricate details that only an artist can get, isn't it? So, and how long should be the eyelashes? Because when the first drops of rain fell on her eyelashes, they broke down, and they fell in a triangular shape on her chest, and then again another triangular shape into her navel region. Such a wonderful description, and to give a picture of that Parvati in tapasya, in this mathematical accuracy, that's something that I would definitely love to see. Did I say too much? I don't know, but that's the
Beautiful,
kind of
sir.
picture.
So beautiful. Yeah.
That's the
Nice to
kind of
see.
picture.
Nice to see the artistic side of you.
Oh, no, I have plenty of that. I don't reveal it. That's
Okay. Yeah.
why.
Nice.
So that's pretty much how each and everything. For example, there is another conversation that happens between a Shishya, Kautsa named Shishya, and he goes to the king, Raghu, and there is a conversation happening between them. And if they can capture that kind of a conversation where the whole of Ayodhya, they had tears in eyes because they saw that Kautsa was not ready to take an extra penny more than what he was supposed to give it to his guru. And the king was not ready to keep any of the wealth to himself. He wanted to give everything to Kautsa. So they saw these two people and they were like, oh my God. So if one can capture this, it's wonderful. Oh, like this, there are plenty of things.
Please make a list, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Not
yeah.
that they are going to, but they will
Yeah.
get an idea in
Yeah.
terms of, you have this insight. It's impossible for them to,
Yeah.
explore all of these texts.
I'll
But
do
if
that.
you, put a few, we'll all be able to, explore the beauty of
Wonderful.
what you have, and experience.
One simple thought that just
Mm.
flashed to me right now is in Shiksha, in phonetics. They give an example. The example is uh, you have seen how a tiger carries her cub using her teeth. She is strong and she is gentle at the same time. Similarly, the pronunciation of letters should be exactly like that, is what the description says. So I think this can be used as one of the ways of expressing how the letters must be pronounced. Sometimes we have this tendency to pronounce it too harsh. The letters, we beat it down in such a way that it sounds very karkasham to our ears. So it has to be gentle, but it has to be strong as well. It cannot have anything. So like this, you can make a list and they can.
This is fantastic, sir. I don't know, Vijayaka, is this okay? Like this kind of, extrapolation of a concept to visual.
Yes,
This
absolutely. I
tiger
mean,
and
that is the only way that it can be done.
mm.
That's why I wanted him to speak and I wanted the artist to be there, because otherwise it becomes I mean, how do you really express Ashtadasha Vidyasthana?
Yeah.
This is the only way you can do it.
This
You
is
can take
beautiful.
examples.
Yes.
The tiger and baby and
Yeah.
the pronunciation is beautiful.
So, sir, we will be freely disputing your number 10.
Okay.
No,
I understood what
we will.
assignment is coming my way. So
No, what we'll do is we'll add you in all the artist groups, so that if any of them, there are 3 groups, if any of them has a doubt, they can put it there and you can just clear it.
okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm a little scared of artists, but no, okay.
Well, I mean, you can continue to be scared of them
And
now.
it is reciprocal. They are equally
They
scared
are
of
scared
you.
of me.
The fear is on both sides.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And I can make a list of such kind of things from each and every Vidyasthana. And
That'll
if
be
a document can be made, then they can, pick, hand pick which one
Yeah,
they
if
can
you
do.
can do that, I will add it to the Google Drive, which
Yeah.
I have given them to,
Practicing. Yeah.
with various articles, which I gave to you also to check whether they're all right,
Yeah.
which hopefully you have seen. But yeah, we can do that. So
Yeah.
it becomes easier for them.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make a list of those things because each and every Vidyasthana has got such intricate details. As I said, these are all technical details. So if we can express those technical details, it would become a fantastic showcase of Ashtadash Vidyasthanas.
That would be
Explains.
really good, sir, if you can give up all the 8, these
Yeah.
kind of technical details.
Yes.
Then, some of them can choose to do it like that. So when somebody comes for the whole show, they know the exact construct of everything.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. Navarasas in art and Vidyasthanas, can they be linked? Yeah, they can. They can be. They definitely can be. I mean, how is the question? If we are looking at just because we don't like Mimamsa, I will say Mimamsa is represented as Bibhatsarasa. No, not like that. Definitely not like that. But there is always this idea. And a simple example I'll tell you in Vedanta and all the darshanas, they talk about Vairagya a lot. Okay. That is the central theme of all the darshanas. How do we experience Vairagya, or how do we develop that Vairagya? When this question comes, they say that you have to develop a sense of Jugupsa towards everything that you see. Jugupsa is the base, that is the Sthayi Bhava for Bibhatsa. So there is Navarasa, not in the form of rasa, but at least in the form of Sthayi Bhava, it is definitely there. So yeah, in that way we can connect. If the question was in that way, definitely we can connect.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, bhavana and art. Yeah, we can. See, for example, uparati. Uparati is one of the main ingredients in sadhana chatushtayam. So uparati is nothing but shantarasa. That is basically shama. Shama is the sthayi bhava for shanta as well. This is the shastra that I had studied for a very long time. This was my bread and butter once upon a time. And so I hope I haven't forgotten it. So shama is the sthayi bhava for shanta. And that shama is nothing but mentioned in the Vedantas as upashama or uparati. Like that, there are plenty of such ideas which can be interpolated. It does include beautiful scenes between, yeah, that is also there. And if we can take, Paduka Sahasram as well, to highlight the importance of Chandas, because Chandas is considered as the pada of the Vedas. So some selected shlokas from Vedanta Deshika's Paduka Sahasram, and they are very rich in description as well. So they can be represented as both art as well as painting, etc. That can be done as well. And just one last idea that I have in my mind. This is, I did not want to reveal it, but I thought, okay, I'll just put it across. Maybe it will come through the best of them. Uh, See, recently in Indica, I had given a talk on Prabodha Sudhakara of Shankara Bhagavad where I had mentioned of his Drishtanta Kaushalam, where his ability to bring analogies from the Laukika world, from exactly the things that we experience in our day-to-day life. Those things and how he has merged them with that concepts of Vedanta. So the same thing can be done with any one text, simple text, or few concepts. So it becomes, an expressive way of understanding the Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas. For example, this Nasadiya Sukta is there in Rigveda. Nasadiya Sukta is there. So that Nasadiya Sukta can be expressed as a painting. I don't know much about how it can be expressed as a dance form, but definitely as a painting, it is certainly possible. Uh, so like this, if we keep on digging, I'm sure that there will be a lot of ideas that we get.
So, as a last question,
Yeah.
in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, we have so many 112 meditation techniques, I think. They talk about how through this sadhana we can tap into our creativity and how it, creativity itself can be how we view the world, not as subject object, but we co-create our reality. So
Mm.
would that be possible? Is there any technique in our Vedic tradition which tells us how we access reality so that we become co-create? We talk about quantum physics and all that now. So
Yeah.
as an artist, like many of my artist friends, they say after they finish the painting, they realize that it's something that was already been there in them, and how they're not able to express how they actually did it, but it's some kind of an intuitive.
Yeah.
So, is there anything about this creativity that we can understand from this?
I mean, it has not been mentioned exclusively like that. So it's some ideas that need to be picked up from each and every Shastra. For example, one simple example, if I have to give, the Matangi Dhyana. Matangi is essentially one of the Shodashis, I mean, in Shodasha Mahavidya, it is one of that. That is for the higher upasakas and everybody, she is Matangi. But for a Sangeeta Vidyopasaka, Matangi is the presiding deity. And there are raga devatas as well. So we have got some form of each and every raga. So that also indicates how, I mean, if we observe, this is too much, but yeah, anyway.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I don't come with a filter. That's the problem. So,
That's okay.
no, it's not okay. It's not okay. So, these when we observe all the raga devatas, raga abhimani devatas, one of the element will be equivalent to the adhishtatra devata of that entire shastra. If we are calling Vag Devi or Sharada, or for example, Nataraja as the adhidevata of dance, then there definitely will be one or the other element mentioned in all the smaller concepts as well, which will be reflected in the Pradhana Devata. So that's how it works. So what I'm trying to say here is, if we observe Sharada or Ashtadasha Bhuja, this kind of concept of Bhagavati, then certainly the elements mentioned in each and every Raga Dhyana will be present there as well. It's for us to explore that. That's all.
Somebody
In symmetry, is symmetry essential for art? Whereas if we take Patachitra or Kali Ghat, mathematical accuracy is not needed. I think the mathematical accuracy part is more of a technical thing. Depends on what sort of school we are following. And again, at the end of the day, whether we have that kind of mathematical accuracy or not, if it is expressed properly, it all art forms is not one-way traffic. It's always the two-way traffic. Abhinava Gupta, in the beginning of his commentary on Dhanya Loka, he mentions that the Vak Tattva that we talk about, the essence of speech that we talk about in all these art forms, is two-way. It consists two elements. Saraswatyas Tattvam Kavi Sahridayakhyam. So that Sahridaya part cannot be ignored. That Rasika or Sahridaya part cannot be ignored. The artist happens to be one. Kavi is a placeholder. It need not always be Kavi. It can be a Gayaka, it can be an Artaka, it can be anybody, any artist. So the artist and the Rasika, they both have to come together. That is the entire essence of all art forms. Hence, I think as long as that is achieved, I think the mathematical accuracy will not play a very significant role, is what I personally believe. Oh, Saraswati Tattva. Okay. Saraswati here refers to Vak. Speech is called as Saraswati. Tattva is essence. The essence of Saraswati is Kavi Sahridaya, and he is strictly talking in terms of poetics. So that can be extended to all art forms as well. When I said two-way, there is a concept called as samvada, not as in conversation samvada, but samvada is that meeting point, that convergence point where it is one way for the artist to express. And that expression is considered to be complete only when it is reciprocated. And that reciprocation happens at the peak of samvada, which is called as Hridaya Samvada. I'll put it into very simpler terms. If I read Ramayana, for example, uh, Tapasvadhyaya Niratam, if I read that shloka, that is Valmiki speaking to me. Okay, over all these years, even after all these years, it's directly Valmiki's words that I am listening. But that transaction that is happening between Valmiki and myself is incomplete until and unless I can understand, I can comprehend what prompted Valmiki to speak Tapasvadhyaya Niratam. So it has to reach to that seed which emerged in the form of Tapasvadhyaya Niratam for Valmiki. Until and unless I reach that point, this transaction will be 60%, 70% incomplete. So it can be said about the same, it can be said the same about all the other art forms as well. I don't know if it made sense or not, but that was my entire PhD thesis in 2 lines. So that's exactly what I had worked for 5 years. Point of Rasa Siddhi, it is Rasa Siddhi. It is also called as, to put it in very plain terms, they call it as Vastu. Okay. So if that has to become a Vastu, then we have to reach that if there is an aswada involved in that, the blissful journey, if the journey includes the bliss as well, then it becomes Rasa Siddhi. Otherwise, it is merely the Vastu, the target that needs to be attained. The very simple example is how mothers control the kids when relatives are around, small children. They just open their eyes in such a way that the children understand that not to do this. So similarly, it need not have reached them. It reached the kid, and the kid reciprocated by understanding from what point the mother is denying them, and all these things. So the same thing needs to happen in all art forms as well. This was easier. This is a slightly difficult part. That's all.
Somebody has asked another question. Are there devatas for Upavedas also?
Oh, is there? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Are there devatas for Upavedas? Yeah, there are. They are, Adhidevata for all Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas are mentioned. Each and every Vidyasthana has an Adhidevata.